Well, hello again. Steve Barber here. I'm joined by a colleague because she's a member of one of my clients, the Monterey Peninsula College Community College District. Brenda is a member of the classified bargaining unit at this community college district. She's been involved in leadership of the classified unit for quite some time, and I thought I would ask her a few things about herself and then get her impression of practicing the interest-based negotiations unit. So, Brenda, welcome.
Thank
You are my first ever interview for my YouTube channel.
Oh, cool.
So I really am excited about having you experiment with me because I'm still learning the ropes on handling the navigating of everything. So, as I said, you're a member of the classified bargaining unit. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means? What is the classified bargaining unit, and who is the CSEA?
Well, CSEA is a union for not only for classified school employees association.
Okay,
So,
CSEA, that's the acronym.
Yeah, and here at MPC we have a chapter 245, and those members who are classified employees here at MPC can join our union. So they're protected. We have a contract and they're protected. They're part of the bargaining unit.
So in the mid to late 70s, California law was changed such that public school employees, and now including all public sector employees, obtained the right to collectively bargain for terms and conditions of employment. And Brenda just told you about one of the facets of that, which is in most organizations there are bargaining units that bargain and represent employees on behalf of those employees according to the type of work that they do. And in the case of CSEA, the type of worker that's represented are what most public schools call classified employees. So give us a taste of the kind of work that you do, Brenda.
I work here in the financial aid office at MPC, and I give money to students so they can go to school. That's that's in a nutshell. That's basically what it is.
So in some respect, the bargaining units can be divided up in most public education system as those who interact with students as teachers or educators and those who don't. And then there's management. And in Brenda's case, she interacts with students not as a teacher, but as somebody who supports their survival on the campus and in their survival in education. So Brenda, you've been on the leadership of your local chapter, estimate for how long?
Probably over 30 years.
30 years in leadership of the chapter.
Leadership, yeah.
Wow, so you have been negotiating using a different model for negotiations than the interest-based approach, which I introduced to this campus, 20 years ago almost?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the difference between the two.
To me, there's a real big difference. The interest-based bargaining, I feel, is very collaborative. We work together as a team, all of us, one side or the other, and we try to come to a compromise on the interests of what we have, what we would like to see changed in the contract or updated or whatever the situation may be, to where on the other side, that when we negotiated
The other model,
yeah, we were actually on sides, their side against our side, and
that's an operative word, against.
Yeah, and we would come in with demands kind of things, and then they would come in with their demands on their side, and it was very like we would butt heads and stuff. I mean, I was on one where we went clear to mediation, where we had to have a mediator from the state come in, and we were not each in the same room anymore. We were divided. It was quite eye-opening.
So in that case, there's a number of models of mediation that reflect the paradigm of the conventional negotiations scheme. I call it the offer and react model. People who study negotiations call the conventional model a transactional model. The model that we introduced here 20 years ago by academicians is called the integrative model. And Brenda did a great job of describing that. The mediation she just described is where they separate the parties. The mediator goes back and forth between the two parties and interprets for those parties what the other side wants, and tries to invent an outcome on behalf of either party, and then sell them. I'm very cynical about the conventional negotiations model. There are other mediations models, or cynical about the conventional mediations model. There are other mediations models that reflect the collaborative model, where both parties are in the same room. The mediator engages them in a conversation, dialogue, and discussion. Excuse me. So out of your 30 years, you now have been practicing this interest-based, integrative model of negotiations. What has that done for both the content outcomes of your contract as well as the relationship between management and the union?
Well, for the content, I think we've come away with a better contract, because we're both looking at it with not the same eyes. We're coming from different points of view, but we're coming eventually. We see it the same at the end. Like, the compromise is there, and we can live with it. Whatever that compromise is on the other subject. What I also like is the relationship that we have with the district. I feel I could go and approach that person, because most of them are VPs, on
that you work with, or vice presidents of the college.
But I would have no problem going into their office and having a conversation with them, to where I know that some of my colleagues on campus who don't have any interaction necessarily in the union, like that kind of thing, they have like where, no, that's a, that's like going to the principal's office, kind of thing, and I don't have that feeling, because we work together in this environment, and get along with each other.
So let me clarify something for the people who are watching the video. Brenda just used a very interesting word a couple times called the compromise. In other words, the outcome is one that the parties can live with. They may not have won, but they didn't lose. I tend to believe that, and have seen oftentimes, and you need to correct me on this, that rather than a compromise, which is where the parties meet in the middle and neither party is super happy with it, but they both know that they met their interests in some fashion, I like to refer to the outcomes more like the elegant outcome rather than the compromise, a creative outcome, one you didn't even expect to happen. Would you tend to agree with that?
Yes. Yeah,
you would.
I would.
You've seen that more
seen
often?
That. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Brenda, I wonder if you were being asked by a colleague from another community college district whether or not they should consider practicing the interest-based model and moving away from the conventional model that you practiced for 10 years in your first third of your career here
Yeah.
in leadership.
In leadership.
What would you say to people who are thinking about making a change in the way they do business with management?
I highly recommend it. If everybody gets on board with it and wants to do this, it is a great alternative to what I'd say is the other side of the coin. And I have actually spoken to people in other chapters of CSCA in regards to IBB training, and have told them our experience here at MPC of how it went. And I just had, I can't think of the college she was from. I was at a CSCA thing in about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she was asking. So I can't remember what college she was from though, but she was from another community college in the Bay Area, and so I was explaining to her how it worked here because she's a new president taking over.
Oh boy!
And so she was asking how we did
An opportunity for change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
All right. Well, Brenda, any other thoughts come to mind while we were having this chat?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I'm told, as the people who've been watching my videos emerge, that it's appropriate not to drag out these conversations or have conversations that last more than about 12 or 15 minutes. We're hitting the 12-minute mark, which is pretty decent.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that, and I hope you are too.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you being so willing to sit with me and help me experiment with this YouTube channel. I hope to make it into a podcast where, as you know, in the training that you originally had, and then we do refreshers over time for new members to the negotiating teams, the material that I present is really cool stuff in the first place, but it's like, holy cow, what the heck is this? And so one of the reasons I'm doing this YouTube channel is to make an opportunity for people to take a deep dive into the principles that I introduce. You know, like, go ahead.
And I will say this, going through the training as both parties, you know, the management and classified, you really learn how other people think about things. And that I have learned, that is one of the greatest things I think I've learned, is once you know how somebody thinks or how they might not necessarily react, but how they're going to think, you know how to work with them. You know, to, like, because like we had a person before where you could ask him a question, he would give you the answer, but if you didn't have your next question available or know what else you want to know, that's where it would lie. He wasn't an elaborator.
You've just described practicing empathetic thinking.
Yeah.
You know, you're bringing empathy to life.
Yeah, and I use that in my everyday, you know, with my colleagues. I mean, you know, with my mother. I mean, I use that whole thing with them. So.
Yeah, this methodology of thinking, this methodology of making decisions in a collaborative fashion is a lot more than just talking nice.
That's right.
It is a critical thinking process.
Yes.
So thank you very much. Thank you again.
Thank
I
you.
want to wish you well in the future. By the way, I didn't mention this is Brenda's last year as a union member, last year as a classified employee at Monterey Pacific College, and she is an awesome asset to the education of young people in the state of California. Brenda,
thank you.
Bon voyage. Have a great future.
Thank you.